Deion Sanders, Colorado. They are making moves on the recruiting trail.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. For those of you who I didn't see yesterday, happy July 4th or happy belated July 4th. Shout out to all of those who fought for our freedom, and shout out to America. Congrats. Here we are, year whatever. Let's talk about Coach Prime, Colorado football, and recruiting. It's a weird sort of topic because you look at all of the notions around Coach Prime, and it's that he doesn't want to recruit. He doesn't care about recruiting. He doesn't value the high school recruits. He doesn't value the high school recruits as much as he does the transfer portal, which I think in essence, there was some truth to that. I think he valued the portal more in the sense that he felt it could help him rebuild quicker. But I think we're starting to see a little bit of a pivot. I think we're starting to see some more pushes for major recruits sooner rather than later. So that way they have a class to work with. Obviously, I think Deion Sanders, if he wanted to, could put together a top 10 class. That is just based off of his popularity. That is based off of the potential that people see in Colorado. So you look at their class right now, and they currently, according to On3, ranks the 79th class in the country. Their class is headlined by Alex Graham, Chauncey Gooden, Montrez Walker, Corbin Lazier, and then Jay Gardenhire, Crooks. So obviously they've made some big moves. They landed some decent recruits, but Steve Wiltfong, who's like the godfather of recruiting, like the guy, if he says something's going to happen, more likely than not, it's going to happen. He is in the mix. He's always getting the scoops. And so he recently entered a projection or a recruiting prediction that Colorado will be landing 4-star receiver Quanell Farrakhan Jr. And this is a pretty big deal. He's a consensus 4-star. He has him ranked as the 276th player in the country, 40th wide receiver in the country. On 24/7 Sports has him, On3 has him as the 43rd in the country, 24/7 Sports 36th, ESPN 49, and then Rivals has him 41st. So he's a really, really quality player. Plays for North Shore in Texas, which is one of the premier programs in Texas high school football. And so the other programs that are after him are UCLA, Houston, Alabama, and Georgia. So Colorado is certainly making a big move here because it's like, oh, Colorado's in the mix, huh? Because realistically, you look at this receiver room for Colorado, and it is really good. Like, it is one of the best in the country, and I don't think I think a lot of people don't really believe me when I say that, but I've literally gotten into countless arguments on Twitter, just in general, where people are like, Colorado's not, they're not going to be that good. Like, their offense is not as good because everyone's worked up about the EA Sports ratings. And I'm like, their wide receiver group alone is probably the best in the Big 12. So like the group as a whole is better than any other wide receiver group in the Big 12. Like, I would love to be shown another one that's better from top to bottom. Like, yes, Tetrell McMillan is probably the best receiver in the Big 12. Maybe Dorian Singer as well. But Colorado's receiving core clears both Arizona and Utah. And so big moves being made on the recruiting trail. He's someone who I think it was the official visit that did it for him. To be quite honest, that's kind of what I was told. He went to Colorado, took a visit, met the staff, and got to take his cool pictures and stuff. And all of a sudden, Colorado jumped into that top spot. And it's like, okay, obviously it's hard to turn down Coach Prime. I talk about it all the time. If you were a young high school recruit or just a high school recruit in general, and you want to make it to the NFL, let's go college level. You want to get attention, right? You want to be able to be playing on TV. You want to be able to contend for a playoff and all that. Colorado is going to be on TV every single week as long as Deion Sanders is at the helm. They have a chance to play for the playoff simply by winning their conference. So obviously that's easier said than done, but Colorado wins their conference during the playoff. That's just how the new playoff shakes out. So it's not me saying I'm guaranteeing Colorado will make the playoff, but you have a chance. You know they're going to pursue big talent. You know they're going to attract big names in the transfer portal. So you know that there's going to be potential if all the coaching and all that stuff works out that you could be playing for the playoff. And then you want to play in the NFL. That is every player's goal. Obviously, only 2%, or I think it's around 1 to 2% of these guys make it to the NFL, which is about, I think it's 2 or 3 guys per team if you're lucky. So the schools like Georgia, Alabama, Texas that are pumping out like 10 guys, that's rare. But even if, say, you pump out 15 guys, there's a lot more guys not making it to the NFL. But if you go to Colorado, and this isn't like saying Colorado's done anything special because they haven't produced a pro yet under Coach Prime, at least not a drafted guy. You're playing for pro coaches: Pat Shermer, NFL experience; Robert Livingston, NFL experience; Deion Sanders, NFL experience as a player, one of the best to ever do it; Phil Loadhall, NFL experience. They have all these guys and more. There's more guys. I'm not going to name the whole staff and all of their experiences. Warren Sapp, another one. All these guys have NFL experience, and you want to play in the NFL. Who better to teach you? So you get the exposure. You're going to get the NIL deals. You get the NFL coaching. You get a chance to compete in the college football playoff, possibly. What a sort of offer. So Colorado, favored to land him. He would be their best recruit in this class. They also are finalists for cornerback Major Preston from IMG, which is another, that's where Alex Graham's from. So obviously Coach Prime is certainly trying to build that IMG pipeline. I think we had Brian Smith on talking about how important it is to build that pipeline, or how lucky a program would be to have that pipeline, because IMG every year their national team is pumping out 40 D1 guys pretty much, or 30 D1 guys, whatever it is. Like everyone that goes there is a D1 prospect. Many of them are Power 5 players. Many of them are really, really good. So to continuously build that relationship and get guys there, pretty big deal. So a little bit about Major Preston. He's made official visits to Virginia Tech and Ole Miss, but he announced his Final Four, and he's down to Colorado, Florida, Ole Miss, and Virginia Tech. He said a lot of things that stood out to me during the process. One being in contact with the coaches. That was the most important thing to me in the recruiting process. There were a lot of coaches I stopped hearing from when I narrowed down my list. And then when he talked about Colorado, he said with Colorado, it's the development they have there. Every coach on the team played in the league for a good amount of years. They have the most people that played on the NFL, their staff. That stood out to me, seeing them coach in person and do different things in practice. So, like I said, that NFL experience, whether people want to admit it or not, whether people think it applies or not, it obviously is something that these guys are interested in, these recruits, because why wouldn't you be? If your goal is to make it to the NFL, obviously there's places like Georgia, Texas, whatever, who can sort of get you there just by, like, if you ball out there, you're going to get a shot. But not a lot of these programs have this many NFL staffers or former NFL experienced guys. So I thought that was an interesting note. And then also, do you guys remember the name Winston Watkins Jr.? He was the first commit of the Coach Prime era, was a former Texas A&M commit, backed off that pledge, committed to Colorado, and then decommitted back in November. And then Antoine Hill decommitted, and it was like a whole thing. Well, on Thursday, he announced his top 16 schools, and lo and behold, guess who was there? Colorado. So Colorado, one of the schools in his top 16, it was Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and Penn State, and then also Colorado. So clearly they're either still pushing or he's still interested, but they have that sort of relationship there. I just think, like he said, whenever he decommitted, he's going to take his recruitment down to the line. I think he had too many, I think he was making too many choices too quickly. And so I respect him for kind of coming to that conclusion. But Colorado, possibly still in the sweepstakes for Winston Watkins. So that'll be interesting. That is my update for you guys on Colorado Recruiting Trail. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Big 12 rankings, why I think they are completely wrong for Colorado. And later, we're going to be talking about nepotism and its role in sports. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning trophies, or for winning championships and trophies, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're in a speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And let's just talk about it. The Big 12 rankings put out by the media. So I talked about it a little bit with Drake, not Drake May. That'd be cool though. From Locked On Big 12 recently. We talked Big 12 expansion and all that on my last episode. So go check that out. But we talked about the rankings as a whole. And what did I take away from these rankings? Well, I think a lot of people are I think they're looking too much into them for one. I don't think it's that big of a deal to be quite honest. I think obviously it's a preseason ranking, so people are they're going to go with the safe route. They're going to go with what we know. And I think that's kind of what we saw here. I think this is like the perfect safe, this was the safest 12 preseason I could have imagined. So those, if you guys didn't know, Utah came in at number 1. Doesn't shock me. They won 2 Pac-12 titles in the past 3 years. They returned their quarterback. They return a lot of talent on defense. They added elite wide receivers in the transfer portal. They bring back Brant Kuthi, who's one of the best tight ends in the country. So they have a lot of talent there. Kansas State, they added Dylan Edwards, former Colorado running back. They have Avery Johnson, who, whether people want to admit it or not, he ran Will Howard out of Kansas State. I'm just saying. He was by far the better player last year. And I think it was clear to everyone who has eyes that Avery Johnson was the future and Will Howard was not. Oklahoma State, number 3. They were the Big 12 runner-up last year. Now, do they have Ollie Gordon, who's probably the best running back in college football? Yeah, they do. Do they also have Alan Bowman, who's, I think, a 7th or 8th year quarterback who doesn't wow me, doesn't move the needle at all? I think he's very solid. I think he's a solid college quarterback, would make a hell of a GA. He's solid as it gets. Yes. Kansas, number 4. Now, I think, and me and Drake talked about Kansas a lot, actually, because we both thought they could be higher. Kansas is a program that their success is solely dependent, and you don't want to put everything on one guy, but he's just this much of a difference maker. Jalen Daniels, if he stays healthy, this Kansas team, really good. If he doesn't, then they got problems, and he's yet to stay healthy throughout his career. And I had someone comment the other day because I brought this point up, and they're like, well, how are you saying that Jalen Daniels can't stay healthy when Cam Rising's been injured? Cam Rising has played more career games, or almost more career games. He's played 2 seasons of 13 games, got injured in the bowl game both times. And Jalen Daniels, his career high played is 9. So I think what I'm getting at here is Cam Rising has played more games, or almost more games, in 2 years than Jalen Daniels has played in 4. So let's not compare. Obviously, we want everyone to stay healthy. Then you have Arizona, who's kind of a wild card. They return No Fafita. They return Tetaro McMillan. They have a new head coach, though, Brett Brennan, former San Jose State head coach. He replaced Jed Fish, who's now at Washington. Do they pick up where they left off? They were kind of trending. They were like the hottest team in college football at the end of the year, I think, which Colorado almost beat them, which was a painful loss. But Arizona 5, Iowa State at 6, West Virginia at 7, which West Virginia was the one team that I thought should have been higher. UCF at 8, Texas Tech at 9, TCU at 10, which this is where you could 7 through, I would say 13, you could flip them any way you want, and people would probably be like, no, yeah, that makes sense. So that's kind of why I'm not too mad at this. But Colorado at 11, Baylor at 12, BYU 13, Cincinnati 14, Houston 15, and then Arizona State 16. So let's talk about Colorado, why they're 11. I talked about this with Drake, and I just really think a lot of people are skeptical about the portal, or the portal haul, because it's like, okay, we saw it already. It didn't work. And to an extent, it didn't work to the degree that I think Colorado wanted it to. And is that fair? No, because I think no coach is going to take a job, basically invent a new way of building a roster and be like, yeah, I think we're going to win 5 games. It's going to be dope. That's not what Deion Sanders was doing. He went in there, he brought in a brand new roster pretty much and was like, I'm confident in this roster. We're going to win some games. And they won some games. They started off 3-0, right? But it didn't pan out. And it's like, okay, the roster didn't have depth. There was a lot of coaching issues, to be honest, too, which hopefully with the new staff, that'll that are the new hires that's kind of fixed. But the trenches were terrible. The secondary was the linebackers were like the team just wasn't that good. And it's okay. They were better than what they were the year before, which was an improvement. And I think that's why the season was a success. But Deion Sanders goes back into the portal and brings in 50 new guys. And it's like, okay, we just saw this not work. Why would you try it again? And it's like, I see what you're saying, but he brought in 50 new guys with a majority of them, A, either being guys who have started or contributed major snaps for a Power Five or Group of Five program, or B, they are former highly touted recruits that you're going to get multiple years out of who could develop by sitting and providing depth this year and then take over as a starter next year. So this college football sort of notion that, or this college football notion, this notion that Deion Sanders didn't improve the roster and that this Colorado team is not going to be any better is crazy to me because they're going to be way better. Now, is that going to be a 7-win season or is that going to be like a 10-win season? I don't know. I'm honest to God, I have no sort of gauge on how good this team's going to be because we haven't seen them play yet. Like that's the hard part about when you bring in this many new players 2 years in a row. It's like, okay, last year's roster, I could have told you how I thought they would have done this year. But now you bring in a lot of new moving pieces and there's new coaches and it's like, okay, now I don't know. I imagine they're going to be really, or at least somewhat better because they have better talent. Obviously that talent has to work hard. That talent has to click and there has to be they have to be put in proper positions to succeed, but we just don't know. But I do think Colorado's going to be a lot better. So not thrilled with the 11 spot here, but at the end of the day, preseason polls don't matter. I just think a lot of people are hesitant to pull the trigger on Colorado with the hype again, or just pull the trigger on Colorado in general, because it's like we saw this not work last year, so why would it work this year? But it's not the same roster. Last year's roster was just everyone interested in coming to Colorado, come on in. This year it's like, okay, we want depth, we want experience, and we want guys who are going to be playmakers. And I think that's what they got in the portal. So you guys comment below, how many wins is Colorado getting in 2024? When we come back, I'm going to be talking about the nepotism claims in college football and in the NBA, of course, because that's kind of what inspired this topic. Game Time. They're an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. So use the app. It has features where you can find last minute deals where you save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, whatever it is. They have those deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. And they have all-in pricing so you can see how much you're going to pay you're going to know how much you're going to pay from the very beginning. There's going to be no surprising fees. And my favorite part is you can see where you're sitting. So you don't have to worry about someone having like a stadium having a big pole or a weird curve where you're not going to be able to see. You'll be able to know it all. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets and tickets in general with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back, Locked on Buffs. We're here on this beautiful Friday. It's really hot out here in California, actually, so it's not that beautiful. But day after 4th of July, saw some fireworks, ate some good barbecue. You know, my uncle barbecued some lamb sausage, which was solid. You know, we had some good tri-tip, which was good, mac and cheese. I had a great slushy, great snow cone. I mean, or whatever you call it. But I just kept seeing nepotism claims, and it's cringy to me. And you're probably like, what are you talking about? Let me explain. So if you guys don't follow the NBA or you do follow the NBA, you might know this already. LeBron James' son, Bronny James, was drafted with the 55th overall pick in the second round of the NBA draft. A lot of people are outraged that he was drafted, and there's this whole thing around him being drafted. Like it's just all based on him being drafted was based on the fact that his dad is LeBron James, which LeBron is obviously the best player of all time and the second best player of all time, depending on how you view him. And I get the frustration, but people need to relax. And so Deion Sanders defended it on social media, and people are coming after him and saying that he's going to end up doing the same thing with his kids. One, let me just get this out of the way. Shador does not need any sort of nepotism to be drafted in the NFL. Neither does Shiloh. Shiloh's going to get a shot in the NFL. I don't know if it's going to be he may not get a shot to be a starting safety, but he will get a shot on special teams, and he will be able to work his way into a rotation eventually. Shador is going to contend for that top pick. So there's really no need there. Shiloh was an all conference type player. He's someone who could get all I almost said Pac-12, all Big 12 honors. Shador is one of the best in the country. He could win a Heisman if everything goes right. If you guys want to know what it takes for Shador Sanders to win the Heisman, go back a couple episodes. I break down exactly what every Heisman Trophy winner has done since the introduction of the playoff. But people are like, Deion Sanders is you're only like basically they're just saying there's a whole lot of nepotism. Deion Sanders is protecting him because he's going to do the same thing. One, Deion Sanders is not going to the NFL. He's said that thousands of times. Every time he does an interview, he's asked about it. He says he has no interest in the NFL. And now he's pretty much turned, it started off with him saying he doesn't have interest in the NFL. And then it's turned into, I'm a father. My sons follow me. I don't follow them. Like he's literally having to change the narrative because people are like, we don't believe you. But when it comes to nepotism, did Bronny James deserve to be drafted based on production? Probably not. Like we'll just call a spade a spade. He averaged less than 5 points a game. He shot 30-something% from the field, shot like 67% from the free throw line, didn't shoot well from three, and that was supposed to, like shooting was supposed to be his calling card. And it's like, guess what? Favors happen in professional sports all the time. All the time. There are teams where it's like they will sign like the NFL. They will sign the son of a legend for a training camp invite just because they're kind of doing it as a favor. In most cases, those guys were solid college players, but they're probably not going to stick around in the NFL. So favors are done all the time. I think when it comes to Deion Sanders and LeBron James, because they're such polarizing figures and because so many people dislike them, it's different. But nepotism is there all the time. Obviously, I think Bronny will have a shot to and I think Deion Sanders said this once. I gave you the name. You have to make something out of the name. Like you have to make your own opportunities. And so LeBron James got him in the NBA. Now he has to stick in the NBA. Deion Sanders set his kids up to get in the NFL. Now they have to stick in the NFL. It's not that complicated. So everyone needs to relax. I think everyone needs to sort of just step back, enjoy the moment. You know, we have a lot of sons of former stars in football and NBA just all over the place. So just enjoy the moment. We're seeing a new era of stars, and it's going to be really fun. So everyone relax, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. This has been another episode of Locked On Buffs. I hope to see you guys Monday, and I will hope everyone has a safe and cold weekend because I know it's going to be hot.